This picture was actually made by AI, so don't be surprised that I look so cool on the picture. I'm not today to giving you a speech just to make a markup. I wanted to show you how during my life I was trying to be attentive to the details, to the things which bothered me, to the things could be solved with some solutions, but not all of us pay enough attention to this. So imagine yourself staying on the top of the skyscraper, looking at those millions of lights. Every light you see through the window, every street lamp, every screen, once it was someone's idea. But idea is not enough. It needs to spread. It needs to find right moment, right place, and right people to turn it into the reality. These people, it was just their observation. It was just a thought in their head. When they see something they don't like, they just can't pass through and not to pay attention to it. Every day, our brain, our spine, our nervous system is stressed, and we can't just stop to think and realize what was the reason of that. You know that it's not enough sometimes to follow the crowd to find a brilliant idea. Sometimes you just need to sit down, relax, try to make 3 deep breaths like I just did right now, and think, what don't you like about this situation? Sometimes markets are not ready for your innovation, because what makes your innovation that great? Is it its uniqueness or technology advantage? In some city, some solution could be everyday's use for everyone, but in another city in the very same country, those solutions won't be recognizable. What we think is 100% what need to be done in one specific country will take years to adopt this solution in the other one. I have a lot of examples I prepared today, but now you want to just listen to me. The first one I wanted to mention is, how do we experience our mobility? How do we pay for public transport? For example, in some cities, you have the contactless payment, you tap, you go through, you even don't think about it. But in some cities, we still have those machines where you need to stand in line and wait 20 minutes before you could get a ticket. In London, for example, the contactless payment was first introduced in 2012, 3 years after it was introduced in Kyiv. But in Singapore, it was introduced in 2009, 1 year after one of the biggest world economic crises. Because government of Singapore, they wasn't thinking about financial perspective. They was thinking about what could be done for their citizens so they will become more efficient and will handle that crisis. Meanwhile, in Warsaw, I was late last week 2 times for a meeting because I didn't have headphones, and I was running the meeting by simply having a smartphone in front of my ear, and I could not make a QR or something, and there was no opportunity to make the contactless payment. So my original idea was I would save some time by using metro, so I won't take car in the city center because it's right, because it brings sustainability and etc. But in the result, I failed with 2 meetings. One of them I had to do at metro, and another one I had to reschedule for another week. About market readiness of innovation, I like example of India. I don't know if you heard of it, but they target to be in one of the top 3 economies in the world, being on 5 right now, I think. Among 1.4 billion population, more than 67% people are in working age. 10% of entire population, because of 50 different dialects, finds English the only language they could speak with each other. That makes them a good employees for international companies because average wage is still less than 400 euros per month. But one thing bothers me, 54%, only 54% of those population have smartphones. How do you think, could we enter the market with our digital solutions with such a modest level of digitalization? And the answer is yes. One of the Indian startups, knowing that fact that more than 50% of people not having smartphones, invented a chip which you simply plug to your SIM card, and it transformed your old Nokia 3310 to a fintech instrument. You get cards, you get payments, you get QRs, you could make international transactions, you could basically live and pay for everything you need. From the other hand, market readiness could also touch the question of cultural intelligence and different stuff we couldn't just expect. I was working in many companies, and on 31st December 2021, I got an email after 6 interviews that my idea was selected to be invested and to be turned into reality in an acceleration program of Antler in Copenhagen. I was so happy, like all of those 6 interviews was quite stressful for me because I wanted them to like me. The idea I wanted to deliver there is I hate this fact that we need more than 10 applications to solve our mobility issues. Even me, I have 4 applications for ordering a cab, 3 more to get an e-scooter, 3 more to get a bike, and I'm not counting the application that you need to have separate application for trains, separate application for trails. I hate apps. When somebody is saying we are an agency which help you to create an app, I don't need an app. I need one app which solves many of the similar problems. So we worked together with a team on a solution which called Fafa back then, and we started from cabs. But you won't believe me, or you would rather do, that cab companies like Uber and etc., they didn't want to collaborate. They didn't want us to show them and compare their prices to other companies. So we basically had to change their names inside of the apps and invented small, funny surnames like Uberovich, Boltovich, and etc., just to avoid some legal issues or some challenges afterwards. And when I was telling this idea to another founders who was also selected in Copenhagen in the beginning of February 2022, they were saying that probably nobody would use that app. And I said, why? Because you have Google Maps. Google Maps tell you exactly where you should go and how you should approach that. But from my perspective, Google Maps doesn't know about local applications, those who are really available on the very specific market. But then I was too stubborn to realize that I'm watching on this situation from wrong perspective. When I arrived to Copenhagen, I wasn't able to order a cab because there is no application to order a cab in Copenhagen. You could take a cab which will cost you 100 euros for 5 minutes drive because they want to push you to use a public transport, which is also quite expensive. And I realized that I was pitching a good idea in front of people who will never understand and facing this problem because their daily drive is a bike and all the infrastructure. In here, under the apartments, you have 3-4 level parkings. They have the same, but for bikes, like a 5-floor building only for bikes, no cars. So I was trying to solve the problem on the wrong market. A year after that, I met guys in Berlin who created this app. They created what I dreamed about. 1 month ago, during a podcast, I mentioned that they have already entered Polish market. They're already solving problems of millions of people. And it is always the same thing. You just need to be sure that your idea is really in time for a very specific market. This is the right moment. This is the right city to deliver your innovation. Let's travel a little bit around Europe. So most of you probably was in Vienna, but the fact I love about Vienna, so many years in a row, it's named the best city to live in the world, not in Europe, not in the Eurasia continent, but in the world. And the reason for that, they're not very complicated. They made a good infrastructure of public transport, which will basically cost you €1 for your daily transportation. Half of the city is parks and green areas, so you are enjoying both the view and good quality of the air. They have many, many more advantages, but does it sound like innovation which is not impossible to do in any other European city? It is not, because for that you just need to understand what your citizens need. This ranking aren't done with people who are born in Vienna. It's rated by people, foreigners like me, who moved there with their families to live there and make the solution, and they vote that the Vienna is a perfect city for expat person to adopt. And then I started to dig inside it. I just wanted to understand what is that unique in the government of Vienna. What's going on there? And I found an app. So basically, with one tap, you can solve any problem bothering you as a citizen of Vienna. You could complain on anything, and it will be solved within 48 hours by a very specific department of municipality, which will work with your problem directly. Of course, people in Austria spoils that sometimes with complaining a neighbor who is playing drums in afternoon or something like that. But what is also saves human lives, because there was a guy who had an old guy who had problems with memory, and he appeared in his car in the city center, but not even realizing who he is. The only thing he remembered is that he could call police. And once he called the police, he said, "Please find me. I don't know who I am and where I am." And police said that for that to track him with GSM, they need permission of court. So basically, the bureaucracy again could cause a lot of troubles. But what policeman advised him is start beeping, and do not stop. In 10 minutes, there was dozens of complaints that some crazy guy is beeping inside of the city center. And they found him immediately. They delivered him home, and they closed the case within first 20 minutes. Why we should not forget about cultural intelligence or CQ? Because I faced this problem myself. When you are selling a solution in Europe and you think, okay, with this amount of citizens, with such hard traffic, this system probably could optimize the same thing in different ways. Back then I was selling fleet management system, which allowed to use sharing economy. Means simply think that on your street where you live, there will be only one courier per day, which is delivering packages from all other delivery companies. So you're not facing 10 or 12 vehicles approaching your street during the day, only one. And it worked in Europe because in Europe, we appreciate efficiency. We appreciate that we could optimize the costs. We appreciate sustainability. There is no those CO2 emissions. The business is scalable, more fleets, more money, good economy, and things like that. But when I went to sell to Central Asia, I realized that I'm selling a wrong thing to those people, because top 5 things that my approach failed in Central Asia is that the mentality of people was fast cash. They don't care that they can make more money in a long-term perspective because they don't have this social security like in Europe. If people in Central Asia lose their job, tomorrow they are not buying food and not paying for education for their children. That's why I was trying to engage them to use this technology innovation, not even considering they might have such problems. Those markets recently understood what is consumer leasing. First time in their lives, they can own something. They can own a smartphone or even a vehicle, paying monthly installments for it. This person's life is changed because finally he could be outstanding compared to people he knows. And when I talk to fleet owners, those who are supposed to understand business, they was always addressing me the same thing. Why should we use your platform if I will give this vehicle to these companies and will get money today? So this mentality did not allow to enter with the same thing, because the culture, the mentality of people is different and need to be discovered very attentively before giving this a shot. I was sure that most of the speakers will talk about AI, so I decided to add AI to my presentation as well, not to be too outstanding. But let's talk today not about how AI is simplifying our lives. Let's think about what AI needs from us. And the future is AI, from my perspective, is synthetic data. Because this is how AI sees with its eyes. This is what AI sees. They doesn't see, this eyes doesn't see beautiful pictures. They doesn't see faces. They're looking for triggers, for patterns in pixels, which were previously pre-installed by some developers. They just don't understand this world. And how can we improve that? We need to deliver that detailed information about the real world, that it is enough to AI to understand at least partially as we do. So what we need is high quality images with very, very detailed labeled files. We need real world feedback. We need to provide a lot of information. Same with human being. As better is education, as better are the speakers, as better are lessons, as better specialists we become in our studies. Same with artificial intelligence. Let's come back to India, because this is how this problem is solved right now. Big companies, big technology companies around the world, they hire an R&D office in India, 50, 100, 200 people. It's depending only on the amount of data required. And those people basically manually making the photo shoots of the object in the real world environment. They mine it over the internet, and then what? And then they need to sit down and basically put a source of code for every specific file. But you know what? On the big scales, humans make a lot of mistakes. And up to 10% of those data could be non-liquid and non-recognizable. It brings us to the situation when we spend millions to get an accuracy rate of recognition to 90%. And then every next percent to 100 costs us again millions. Then we are going to the market. This is a picture from my vehicle. It's 2023 German car. It's a modern car. Showing me that only a car in front of me. It basically makes this last mile delivery of accuracy, of AI understanding with its eyes our world so expensive. So even big companies are not willing to do so. This time I see a vehicle in front of me. At the left, I see the pedestrian. I see the bike who is trying to make it on the green light without even looking that I'm driving already. This is not what I am expecting from the computer vision in 2025. That's why we decided to challenge it with my team. We created a tool which allows to put any of the 3D objects in our platform, specify its color, brightness, texture, everything. Choose the background you like and generate hundreds of thousands images within seconds for 10 euro cents compared to real-world approach of millions. We want to make this last mile with 0 shots, that the photo camera is not required anymore to give a detailed information for artificial intelligence what the real world is like. What does it give us? It gives us that autopilots recognize a bike on a trunk of the vehicle, not thinking this is a bike crossing the street. It helps factories to detect defects during production lines. That means that we will get better quality products. It helps security systems to find a suspect with brown hair in yellow hoodie within minutes in the very crowded festival. We can cover edge cases, which is not in most cases impossible for human being to prepare for artificial intelligence. It's faster, it's scalable, it's cost efficient. AI's future is not about collecting the data. We think that we give some information to AI and we expect a good result. But it's about teaching AI the right way, the right methods. Like a girl before me mentioned that we are having not right education system. Same thing with AI. We could probably go in the wrong direction if we will educate it as it is a human. Thank you.